And I was then satisfied and reassured by a briefing that I was given, and I said I needed by a certain time, that in fact this was in order, it was consistent with the Act. Usually I'm looking very carefully to see that there's been a proper process of consultation, and if there is an area that's controversial, I'll look particularly closely at that.
Have you ever had to overturn something?
I have declined to process a document until I received further information, yes.
Great question. And just following up on it, no, I'll come back to that if no one else does. Let's go to Theo. Good morning, Theo.
Hi, just following on a similar vein from Mitchell, the Courier Mail reported around the time of Prince William's wedding that Republican sentiments were at a 17-year low. In light of that, how do you think Queenslanders perceive the monarchy?
It's a very interesting question. It varies. Obviously, I meet people who feel passionately, mostly younger people, that we should be a republic yesterday. But I also meet many, many people, increasing numbers in fact, as I move around the community, who feel quite strongly that this is not the most pressing issue on the agenda today, that we've got far more important things to be concerned about, and who tend to have the view, if it ain't broke, well, why try to fix it? And then there are others who genuinely feel deep respect, affection and loyalty for the Queen. I imagine that the Republican debate, if you like, will change over time, particularly in years down the track if there are changes in the monarchy itself. But for the time being, I do not sense any great passion about this, and particularly within Queensland, I find a lot of respect for the role and for my own role as the Queen's representative in Queensland.
Do you have to be a monarchist to have your job?
No, you don't. The whole point about the governor and the governor's role is that the governor is neutral, the governor is impartial, the governor is above politics, and so voicing an opinion on something that is clearly a political issue like that is outside the bounds of what I would do. So absolutely not.
Has Quentin Bryce said she's a Republican though? Or
I don't.
No, okay,
I don't recall that.
Yeah. All right, Daniel. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you too. I'd just like to ask on a more local note, what your opinion is regarding Campbell Newman's attempt to circumvent the conventions of the Queensland political system.
Ah, well, that's a cheeky question, because I've just said that the governor is impartial and above politics, and that's fundamentally a political question, and I'm not going to comment on that. I will reiterate that I regard it as immensely important that as governor I keep a significant interaction across the whole spectrum of political representatives. So I'm dealing daily, constantly, with ministers, but equally with shadow ministers and local politicians and representatives. And I believe that that's a very useful thing to do.
But if an appointment like that impacted on the Constitution, what you said earlier is you do see your job. It's not ceremonial. It is very practical, and that you would have a view or look at that closely.
I did look at that closely, because it is clear that the former Lord Mayor cannot be the leader of the opposition and function as the leader of the opposition as someone who is not elected to Parliament. So he holds a different position, and I am meticulous in my recognition of Jeff Seeney as the leader of the opposition, and should I feel a need to convey some information or comment or feedback to members of the Parliament, often when I come back from having been on a regional visit or I've had a conversation and I feel there's something that's troubling people, I will pick up the phone or pass on a message to a minister, but I will do the same, the shadow minister, to keep that scrupulous
And in your
balance.
view, Jeff Seeney is the opposition leader of Queensland.
That's correct.
Yeah, and Daniel, you can see the difference. One's
Yeah.
constitutional. Yeah, okay. Fantastic, thank you.
No worries.
Yeah, all right, let's go back to Kelsey. Good morning again.
Thank you. So I'm going to have not such a cheeky question, But as your role as Queensland Governor, you're a patron for over 180 organisations, including a couple that are concerned with trauma and abuse of refugees and of children. However, I noticed that you're not actually a patron for any organisations that deal specifically with women that are abused in Queensland. So I was just wondering, how could your patronage of such organisations actually help deal with the insidious and widespread issues that severely impact many Queensland women?
Oh, well, actually, Kelsey, many of the organisations of which I'm patron are working directly on these issues of violence against women, violence against children. Last week, I did the sums just before I came to the interview. One of the 19 events that I attended or was involved with was the 25th anniversary of an organisation called Protect All Children Today, and I'm patron of another one called Act for Kids, and that is about children who have been and women who have been subjected to violence. Tomorrow morning I'm opening a new boutique as the patron of Suited for Success, an organisation that seeks to help disadvantaged and homeless women, but many of these women, of course, have been subject to domestic violence. A couple of years ago, because I've been in the job now nearly 3 years, UNIFEM's campaign was Say No to Violence, and through the UN Association of Australia, Queensland branch and International Affairs Association, all of these organisations are working on the global, the national, the state and the community stage to take very strong action to say no to violence and to try to deal with these issues. In a way, concern about the rights of women, rights of girls, and these issues have just been an enduring part of my life and my preoccupation, so they're never far from my mind or from the energy that I'm committing to different causes.
You have daughters?
I have 2 daughters.
2 daughters.
Both lawyers.
Okay, all right, so they're grown up. Do you have grandchildren?
No, these
Not
girls are too busy getting more and more education and wanting to have international experience as well.
Well, like their mother. Penelope Wensley, the Governor of Queensland, is our guest in Student Press Call, asking the question students from Brisbane State High School. Let's